Good morning. I'm Inspector Dave Dubinick. I'm with the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams, and I oversee the operations of the Provincial Internet Child Exploitation Unit. Yesterday, our ICE investigators arrested a 43-year-old Red Deer resident who is accused of sexually abusing her 4-year-old child. Photographs of that sexual abuse has been transmitted via the internet by way of email. The accused has been charged with sexual assault, sexual exploitation, making, distributing, possessing, and accessing child pornography. I can confirm that the child is now safe and is no longer in the care of his mother, and all necessary support is being provided to him. The suspect was arrested at a local area daycare here in Red Deer, where the suspect was employed. At this point, I would like to stress that our investigation has not revealed anything to suggest there's been any offenses against children attending the daycare, and we have nothing to suggest that any of the alleged offenses against the accused child were committed while at the daycare. Parents of the daycare in question were notified last night by way of email from the daycare owner. Alerts not identifying the suspect, nor are we providing the name of the daycare at this time. It's our concern that doing so could potentially identify the victim in this instance, which could thereby lead to further victimization. Our concern, of course, is for the health and well-being of this young child, and that's why our investigators acted as quickly as they did to ensure that he was removed from this abusive situation. None of us here today can fathom or understand why these types of incidents happen, and I cannot provide an answer for that at this time either. What I can say is I'm very grateful for the quick and diligent work of our ICE investigators, and thankful for the cooperation they received from the Red Deer RCMP as well as the Boise, Idaho Police Department, which all contributed to the quick rescue of this child from a tragic and abusive situation. I'm also grateful that the province has resources in place such as the Sheldon Kennedy Center, which will be reached out to and help victims moving forward. I will take any questions you may have at this time.
Inspector, how rare is it for a mother to be charged in a case like this?
I could certainly say that it is far more rare to have a female offender on their child. It's not the first time I've seen it. However, it is certainly more rare than the alternative of having a male offender.
How long was this allegedly happening?
That is still being determined. The investigation's in the very early stages, so that will be determined as we proceed.
Do you believe there are any more victims outside looking into the daycare? Do you believe there could be children in other areas?
At this early stage of the investigation, we have nothing to suggest there's been any other victims other than her 4-year-old child.
Does she have more children?
I don't know the full family dynamics at this point. All we know is that the 4-year-old son was the victim of this offense.
Do you know how long she had been working at the state daycare?
I do not know that. No.
So is it a daycare or a day home? Because there is a difference.
Yeah, it's my understanding it's a licensed daycare facility here in the city of Red Deer.
Did she remain in custody, the suspect?
Pardon me, sir?
Is the suspect in custody?
She was taken into custody. She has since been released on strict conditions to ensure she has no contact with her child as this investigation continues.
Is there a court date?
Her next court date is scheduled in Red Deer Provincial Court for July the 16th.
Was she operating alone, or do you have any other people of interest you're looking at?
In Canada, she's our lone suspect.
Was she known to police?
No, she is, prior to this incident, no criminal record and not known to police.
This is a sensitive question, but in terms of the type of abuse, can you provide any kind of details? Was it on a scale or anything like that?
I can't provide specifics of the extent of the abuse. All I can say is that the abuse was being photographed and sent via email over the internet.
To whom?
To another individual, one that we're aware of, and that's the extent of our investigation suggests it was one individual.
Canadian, American?
It was to an individual in the States, and that's where the Boise, Idaho connection is.
Can I ask, so we got a release from the Idaho folks saying that a man has been charged. And they expedited the arrest and whatnot because he was coming to Canada. Do you know, was he coming to Red Deer?
There is some suggestion that our investigation has revealed that there was plans for him to come up to Red Deer. Whether that was going to be on a permanent status or not, we don't know for sure.
So were they in a relationship together?
I don't believe there's a relationship other than the internet connection to this point.
How were you initially notified to this going on?
It was the investigators in Boise, Idaho, conducting their investigation, and through their investigation, they revealed that there was a young child at risk here in Red Deer. They notified the Red Deer RCMP, who in turn notified the Internet Child Exploitation Unit.
How many images were produced and sent?
At this point, we don't know. That's still part of our ongoing investigation.
Is the child still in Red Deer? Is he with family? Is he with a foster home?
The child's been given to other family members, and again, there's conditions in place to ensure that there's no contact between the child and the mother while the investigation.
Here in Red Deer?
In Red Deer, that's correct.
Can you tell us, even though the child was 4 years old, has he been able to provide information?
At this point, that'll be part of our ongoing investigation. Right now, the health and well-being of the child is our primary concern right now, so once we can establish that that's in place, then we'll continue with the investigation, which will include talking to the child.
Just how, how disturbing is this case to you?
It absolutely is disturbing. I've been policing for over 26 years, and of course, I've seen a lot of incidences. These are very disturbing cases. This is a heinous crime that was committed on a young child by the one person that they should be able to trust the most to protect them, and it was quite the opposite in this instance.
Did the abuse happen in the home itself, or were there other locations?
That's still being determined as to the exact location of where the abuse took place. What I can say at this point is we don't believe there's any abuse that took place in the daycare center.
So was there any monetary gain involved in this?
Not to our knowledge, no. That again can be determined as the investigation continues.
So is there concern maybe that it would have escalated had this person come to Canada?
That's always a concern for sure. If the abuse is ongoing now, there's always a concern that it could have escalated, absolutely.
Was the person in Boise, the suspect, was he known to police there with this kind of activity?
I cannot say if he was known prior to this. What I can tell you is he was being investigated for these types of crimes there, and that's what put them onto our child at risk here in Red Deer.
Can you just tell us, you talked about it, but just how is this child doing, and are there any concerns about this child as he grows up?
Yeah, outwardly the child appears to be fine. However, I'll reiterate, a crime of this heinous nature, we can't ignore the fact that there could be some consequences as the child grows older. That's why it'll be important to ensure that all of the possible support is given to him. We'll continue to work with Child and Family Services here in the province to ensure that he does receive the support that he does need.
How can people actually step in and help out in this situation? Obviously, online predators and things like that. How can you advise people at home that are maybe you see something or warning signs of stuff like this?
Yeah, anytime if there's any suspicions at all, there's several different options, of course. For sure, contacting your local police service, that would be your first option. Contacting Crime Stoppers, either via the email or internet or telephone, or cybertip.ca is another. We get a lot of tips through cybertip.ca.
Is there any indication that there's some kind of a network in Red Deer dealing in child porn, or is this just a one-off?
Based on our investigation, this does not appear to be linked to any other kind of a network as such. However, again, we're in the early stages, and should that be revealed as we proceed, obviously those will be followed up. But at this time, no, we don't have any connection to a network at all.
Was it just pictures, or was there anything else?
It's our belief it's just photographs at this time.
Working with the Sheldon Kennedy Foundation, how are you guys going to be basically working with the child?
Yeah, absolutely. It's they've got some fabulous resources, and through them, and again, the Child and Family Services, it'll be determined what kind of supports are going to be needed, and whatever support is required will be provided.
So did you say how long that you believe this had been happening?
I don't know at this point. That'll be, there's a process involved now for analyzing some of the devices and that were being used. It'll take some time to determine that.
So basically, what happens now?
From this point, we continue our investigation to ensure, again, to ensure there has been no other victims. We don't believe there has been at this time, but we want to be absolutely certain of that. And then once the investigation proceeds, she'll continue to appear in court, and it'll roll out that way.
Some people might be asking, why was she released, considering the nature of the charges?
That's a consideration for the courts, and we request our conditions that we would like to see should they be released. But ultimately, a release is a decision made by the courts, and they base it on the information that they have at hand.
Are you able to speak to her conditions?
The primary condition that we're concerned with, of course, is to ensure that there's no contact between her and her child, and then there's always the usual conditions involved as far as keeping the peace and being of good behavior, and ensuring that she's going to attend her required court dates.
Will she have access to a computer?
I don't believe so. That'll be a part of her conditions of release.
And there were no other kids in her home?
At this time, I'm not aware of the family dynamics. We're only aware of the one victim at this time.
So she doesn't have any other children?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And can you talk, was she married? Was there somebody at home aware of what was going on?
Again, I'm not fully aware of the family dynamics. It's such early stages of the investigation. Our primary concern at this point was to ensure the child was rescued from that situation, and as the investigation proceeds, we'll determine more of that information.
Was she working at the licensed daycare, or was it's hers?
She was working there as an employee, that's correct.
What was her job title, do you know?
I don't know her specific job. All I can say is being in a daycare, of course, at times there would have been access to the other children, but I have to stress at this point, we have nothing to suggest any other children were victims of an offense there.
Can you describe maybe her nature? Was she cooperative during the investigation? Was she combative, anything like that?
To this point, she's been cooperative with the investigation, and we'll see as the investigation proceeds if that continues.